When performing a needs assessment for a company and for a training, you need to take on two main procedures in order to make this happen. The first is deciding what methods to use, and the second is the process for the needs assessment. Now, a needs assessment is needed when you know that training is needed, but you're not sure what training is needed. And you will perform this needs assessment to figure out exactly where the training needs are. Let's talk about methods. The first method is going to be observation. This works well if you're the direct supervisor of employees or manager of employees, and you work in an environment that's like manufacturing, where you can watch them on the floor, or maybe a call center where you can see the data logs and figure out exactly where the performance lies and where the performance gaps are. But it's not really universal, because if you have a large group that you need to train, or you aren't really familiar because maybe you're just the corporate trainer and you're not familiar with the workforce, you can't really observe. So it works in some situations, but not others. Another option would be to do surveys. Surveys are great because you can tailor them to individual situations, ask different questions. The downsides are you don't always get 100% buy-in, and you don't get honest buy-in sometimes from employees, because they're not going to want to seem like underperformers. So they're not going to answer, no, I don't understand this, no, I don't do this. And they may falsify what you're trying to get out of them. So in a way it's good because you can tailor it, but it depends on the situation. Third is going to be interview or one-on-ones. If you have a small enough group that you need to train, it's great if you can sit down with them individually and say, what training do you need? Where are your gaps? How are you feeling about this? And really get a feel. If it's a large workforce, this isn't going to work because you're not going to be able to sit down with everyone. Now, what might work in that situation is a focus group or a group setting. Now, this can work if you have various department heads, maybe, that you want to all have sit down and figure out a training for an organizational-wide training, or if you just have a work group, a work unit that needs training, and you can have them all sit down. Now, the good parts about this is you can get group buy-in on where everybody's at. You can ask questions directly to people, kind of get a general group consensus of what's needed, but a downside is some people may not speak up, and there may be gaps that some people are missing and others aren't, so you might miss some things. So again, this situation is completely dependent on the participants, and you as a trainer have to decide if this is correct for you. A fifth area is policies and procedures. Now, policies and procedures are great because this is getting down to compliance training or corporate-wide training where you need to train on a specific topic, and maybe you just need the policy, the procedure, the method that you're training on to be your guide. In that case, this is the best way to go. And finally, number 6 is going to be the employee files themselves. You can look back on old reviews, old performance metrics, and kind of formulate where the needs are based on where people's reviews were the previous year, or where their, maybe employee write-ups in this one area were enormous, and we need to figure out why all these employees are getting written up on this one thing. And a downside of this can be, well, maybe that has rectified itself because these reviews were a year ago and it's old news and we've moved on. So again, you need to weigh how long ago was this data, is it still relevant, and make your decisions based on that. Now, let's talk about the process of how we go about doing this. Process is, once we've developed what the needs are, we need to figure out what process we're going to use to go through. And what you're seeing on your screen now is the process by which we go about our training. It starts at the organizational level, and we say, do we have the support of our managers to do this? Do we have the resources to do this? And then, is this something we want to devote training to? Is this something that we need and have time to build and will be beneficial to do? Because remember, we're spending money on training, we're spending time and resources on training, so we need to make sure that this is a definite training need. Next, after we figure that out, we can figure out a person analysis. Are these people's characteristics, what are their inputs and outputs? How are they going to deal with training? And maybe task analysis. Is this work activity or working conditions under the tasks relevant to the training? And all of these things are going to go into our method of training. We've evaluated, we've figured out the both personal and organizational and task things that we need, and we can now move ahead to the next step of our development. So now we've gone through our methods and what method we've chosen and our process of how we're going to do this, and we are ready to start with our training design. Thanks, and if you have any questions, let me know. Enjoy this week's material.